So I'm here at the V&A with Joseph Galliano, co-founder of Queer Britain.
Hello.
Joe, tell us why heritage is such an important lens to engage everybody with LGBTQ histories.
I think the really important thing is that if you don't understand where you've come from, it's very hard to understand who you are now. And if you don't understand who you are now, it's very difficult to imagine a best of all possible futures.
And we see on the news a lot of politicisation of inclusion agendas, talk about hate crime. How can heritage spaces like museums and archives and libraries help to counter that public perception?
I think it's very much about making sure that they've invited the right conversations with the right people, they're sharing stories, they're opening their collections up to a whole group of different diverse people, and making the effort to find the stories that really show how threaded into history we all are.
And what do you think are some of the missing stories, missing LGBTQ stories in public collections like this?
One of the stories that we found that I found so moving was an oral history from an older lesbian, which we filmed for our Virtually Queer digital oral history project, which you funded. And she was telling us about how she'd had about 100 foster children move through her house. Her and her partner had really given a place of safety for these children who were in the most extreme of circumstances. And as a result of that, her extended family and the impact that she's had on a huge amount of people just extends enormously. And these are people whose stories are never normally celebrated. I think it's really important that we hear those stories.
So I'm here at the V&A with Dan Vo, who's the LGBTQ coordinator for the V&A. Dan, could you tell us a bit about why the tours are so important?
The tours are important because it allows people to come into the museum and feel absolutely welcome. They know that because we do LGBTQ tours here and we look at LGBTQ history across not just one particular gallery but all the galleries in the museum, we're recognizing that queer history is important and it's something to be celebrated.
How would you encourage another museum or heritage site to run an LGBTQ tour?
I think the thing to realize is that as LGBTQIA+ people, we exist across place, time and culture. So you don't really need to have a particular event or a particular exhibition on to be able to go in and say, here are the queer objects. You can go across any gallery, any objects that you can find. There will be a story that can be found. There are 3 rules that we look at when we apply, we add objects to tours at the V&A LGBTQ tours. It is something that the subject itself might be LGBTQ, or it could be that the creator was LGBTQ. For us, the most important one is something, it could be something that relates to the community, in that the community has looked at it and they've taken it and they've gone, this is part of our story, this is a reflection of us. And that's really important to recognize that.
So as you've heard from Joseph Galliano and Dan Vo, some really important and powerful stories. And for a funder like us, it's absolutely critical that all of the projects we fund include and reach a wider range of people. So if you want to do a project about LGBTQ history or some other local heritage topic, then get in touch with your local office.